my name is Madison McLemore, and I'm the senior prosthetist here at Hanger Clinic. And I've been working here for 10 years, and I'm from Columbia, South Carolina. I'd like to introduce you to the rest of our team. We've put together a little video today telling you a little bit about casting, modifying, lab time, some of the processes of making a prosthesis. And I hope it helps. You may have to use your imagination during some parts, as we did not have a patient model during the COVID crisis. So I hope it helps you, and good luck with everything, and I hope you're being healthy and washing your hands.
My name is Katie Moore. I'm a prosthetic practitioner with Hanger Clinic. I'm originally from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I've been in the field for like 15 years.
Hi, my name is Jen Kent, and I'm a CPO here at Hanger. I'm originally from Rhode Island, and I've been working for Hanger for about 5 years now.
Hi, I'm Taylor Hildebrand. I'm a CPO with Hanger Clinic. I've been working here about 3 years, and I'm from Billings, Montana.
Hey, my name is Greg Kowalski. I'm a board-eligible prosthetist here at Hanger Clinic. I've been in Columbia now for about 8 months, and I've been with Hanger overall for about 2.5 years. I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia, and Blacksburg, Virginia.
So this is Greg. My name's Madison, and we are going to do a patella tendon bar total surface bearing casting of Greg. So he is clearly not a BK, but we're going to kind of pretend for this scenario today. So first off, the first thing I do is I put a stockinette over their leg, and then I take some measurements. So you want to have a good ml. So you put this device right over their femoral condyles here, and you read. Then you would take this, put this in on their patellar tendon bar and right in the popliteal space, and then read here. Then you kind of record those two, and then I try to take inch by inch measurements from the patellar tendon down. And this is really important because it helps you with your modifications once you fill the cast, to make sure you can get your reductions correct. And it also is a good tracking for us to see how the patient has atrophied as they go along, and have they changed, or do they need a new prosthesis. So I take the patellar tendon measurement, and then I gradually just go down inch by inch. So the next thing I do is I mark with a Sharpie over all of the bony prominences. So I start with the patella, and then I make a line right at his patellar tendon bar. So we're gonna pretend that his leg ends right about there. So then I would draw out and kind of try to draw out the tibia. I mark the fibula head. This is typically a pressure intolerant area for most amputees, so I try to make sure I get a good mark of that. And then also the distal tibia down here tends to be a very prominent spot as well. So if it's prominent, then I might mark it with an X and kind of circle it, so that I know to maybe do a little build up in that spot and add a little bit of relief in the socket. Then I usually will kind of feel for the tops of his femoral condyles, and I kind of trace them. And this will end up being kind of like the trim lines of my socket, and it kind of gives me a little guideline, if nothing else, as to how high I'm going to want to cast up to. Then I begin casting. I usually use a 3-inch fiberglass, and for Greg we have a cut strip in just because this cast won't slip off of his leg because he has a foot. But a lot of amputees, the majority, it'll just slip off, so you don't even need to have that cut strip in there. So then I just take little wraps and I try to kind of overlay it. And usually I kind of get the bottom there. We'll just kind of pretend that's not there. And I go up. I try to have his leg in about 10 to 20 degrees of flexion. So usually when I'm wrapping, you can keep it kind of straight. The flexion is really going to be important when you are doing your hand placements. So you see I could kind of see my marks still through that, so that's a little thin. So I might want to go back and do just one more, make sure it's nice and thick. Otherwise it'll be a little too thin and it'll be flexible, and then maybe when I fill it, it could expand. So I want to make sure it's rigid enough, not excessive. Okay. So now I usually tell them to kind of relax, and when you relax your leg, your patellar tendon kind of will pop out for me and I can feel it really well. I place my thumb right in that space, and then with these two middle fingers, I'm kind of getting a good impression of right in the back in his popliteal space, right in between those two hamstrings. That's also another good reason that we have him a little bit flexed. Those hamstrings really kind of pop out, and you can kind of tell where you need to have your buildups for your back wall, because you get a really good impression during your cast. So then I try to kind of come in here a little bit, over the condyles. And then right here, I'm pushing with the bottoms of my hands on either side of the tibia. For Greg in particular, he has a really prominent medial flare. So I'd probably push in there. That's probably going to be a really good weight-bearing surface for him. So I'd probably push in a good bit there for him. And then a little bit there. And you can really see how that tissue kind of displaces in your cast. And you kind of just continuously do these movements until it sets up. And I just kind of go back to this one. And then I also want to try to flatten in the back on that gastroc. So the goal, a lot of times these BK prosthetics will turn out kind of cylindrical in shape. And then if you have a pin system, they may want to rotate on the leg. So the goal is to kind of try to get more of a triangular shape to it, because then it will not rotate as much on the limb. So I'm trying to kind of push in here and here and flatten the back. Give it that kind of triangular shape. It also kind of offloads this distal tibia area here. Pretty much set up. Now before I take it off, usually always try to draw an alignment line straight down from his hip. And this gives me the angle of his varus valgus. So I know where to set up the foot. So I know his foot's gonna have to drop straight down from that line. I'll kind of draw a line this way too. And then typically we just pop it off there. But with Greg, we're gonna have to cut it off. And that's it. So after we fill the mold with plaster, it sets up, we put a pipe into the cast. It sets up, we put the pipe in those 2 lines of alignment that I drew previously. And it sets up my, all of my marks that I drew on Greg's leg will transfer onto the plaster mold. So for the modifications, we first start out, I kind of already just did it on this one, but first thing we do is we go around and we take our measurements every inch on the cast. And then we kind of compare them to the measurements that we had when we did our casting. Then we'll take it down to those exact casting measurements. The next thing we do is we take it down 3/8 inch from those measurements. The reason you take it down 3/8 inch more than your casting is because you're trying to put some compression on the prosthesis to accommodate for the liner that they're wearing. So most amputees are wearing some sort of silicone liner. Now this can change if they are very bony residual limbs. You may only do 1/4 of an inch. And if they're very fleshy, you may do a little bit more. But standard is 3/8 inch globally. You take it completely away. Next, if you notice when I was doing my casting, I was putting my fingers in the popliteal space. So those marks kind of come out in my plaster mold. So then I take a 1/2 round and I kind of whittle it down here in the popliteal space, and I make what we call a little patellar tendon bar. I kind of smooth it out. It's going to look kind of like a little smile, and it's about 1/4 of an inch into your mold here. And I usually take it down right to where my thumbprints were, because that's going to be kind of anatomical to the patient. Then you can kind of take your measurements from your AP measurements and compare them to your cast. You're going to want your AP dimension to match your cast. So you want your mold to be exact. You want this measurement to be exact as well. Then you can do some build-ups as well. You're going to want to do a build-up over the distal tibia area. You can do probably up to 1/4 of an inch in this area, depending on how prominent it is. Same if so this particular patient didn't have a prominent fibular head, so I might not do one. But if they had a very prominent fib head, you might do a big build-up in this area in order to accommodate for that as well. 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch probably. Then right in the back wall area is kind of an interesting space as well. So you'll kind of mark where your patellar tendon bar is. You kind of take that mark all the way around. A lot of times people will get a rubber band and place it on the mold, and it helps that line be a little straight. You'll want to be, your back wall is going to be just below your patellar tendon bar, and then your medial hamstring is going to need a little bit more clearance, and your lateral. It's going to look like a little bit of a W. Then I'm going to do about 2.5 inches up over the condyle here. And then this is your patella here. I want to go about to the distal third about. There we go. Kind of mark out where your trim lines are. Okay. So right here, a lot of people do a little back wall. So maybe do a little build up here. A little build up to have a little flare in this particular space. Another thing is right in this popliteal space, you may want to just flatten a little bit. And then you'll have a flare here. You'll do a little build up with a little flare in this area. So a lot of times when I do my check socket, I will also leave my check socket high, and then I'll heat and create my back wall that way as well. And then we are ready to pull our check socket. So the next step is pulling the check socket. So we have it all set up on the stand. We put a nylon stockinette on here. Then we put some just electrical tape around the edge of the plate so that it helps seal. We cook the plastic in here for about 10 minutes. And once it's ready, it turns out like a little bubble. Just drape it over the mold. Kind of twist it on. And it just sucks into place. You want to make sure cut these edges before it hardens.